اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أفتتح الثناء بحمدك وأنت مسدد للصواب بمنك، وأيقنت أنك أنت أرحم الراحمين في موضع العفو والرحمة، وأشد المعاقبين في موضع النكال والنقمة، وأعظم المتجبرين في موضع الكبرياء والعظمة. اللهم أذنت لي في دعائك ومسألتك، فاسمع يا سميع مدحتي، واجب يا رحيم دعوتي، واقل يا غفور عثرتي. فكم يا إلهي من كربة قد فرجتها، وهموم قد كشفتها، وعثرة قد أقلتها، ورحمة قد نشرتها، وحلقة بلاء قد فككتها. الحمد لله الذي لم يتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا، ولم يكن له شريك في الملك، ولم يكن له ولي من الذل، وكبره تكبيرا. الحمد لله بجميع محامده كلها على جميع نعمه كلها. الحمد لله الذي لا مضاد له في ملكه ولا منازع له في أمره. الحمد لله الذي لا شريك له في خلقه ولا شبيه له في عظمته. الحمد لله الفاشي في الخلق أمره، وحمده الظاهر بالكرم مجده، الباسط بالجود يده، الذي لا تنقص خزائنه ولا تزيده كثرة العطاء إلا جودا وكرما، إنه هو العزيز الوهاب. اللهم إني أسألك قليلا من كثير ما حاجة بي إليه عظيما، وغناك عنه قديم وهو عندي كثير، وهو عليك سهل يسير. اللهم إن عفوك عن ذنبي، وتجاوزك عن خطيئتي، وصفحك عن ظلمي، وسترك على قبيح عملي، وحلمك عن كثير جرمي عندما كان من خطئي وعمدي أطمعني في أن أسألك ما لا أستوجبه منك، الذي رزقتني من رحمتك، وأريتني من قدرتك، وعرفتني من إجابتك، فصرت أدعوك آمنا وأسألك مستأنسا لا خائفا ولا وجلا، مدلا عليك فيما قصدت فيه إليك، فإن أبطأ عني عتبت بجهلي عليك، ولعل الذي يبطأ عني هو خير لي لعلمك بعاقبة الأمور. فلا أمر مولا كريما أصبر على عبد لئيم منك علي. يا ربي إنك تدعوني فأولي عنك، وتتحبب إلي فأتبغض إليك، وتتودد إلي فلا أقبل منك، كأن لي التطاول عليك فلم يمنعك ذلك من الرحمة لي والإحسان إليك والتفضل علي بجودك وكرمك. فارحم عبدك الجاهل، وجد عليه بفضل إحسانك، إنك جواد كريم. الحمد لله المالك الملك مجري الفلك مسخر الرياح فالق الإصباح ديان الدين رب العالمين. الحمد لله على حلمي بعد علمي، والحمد لله على عفوه بعد قدرته، والحمد لله على طول أناته في غضبه، وهو قادر على ما يريد. الحمد لله خالق الخلق باسط الرزق فالق الإصباح ذي الجلال والإكرام والفضل والإنعام، الذي بعد فلا يرى وقرب فشهد النجوى تبارك وتعالى. الحمد لله الذي ليس له منازع يعادل، ولا شبيه يشاكل، ولا ظهير يعاضد، قهر بعزته الأعزاء وتواضع لعظمته العظماء، فبلغ بقدرته ما يشاء. الحمد لله الذي يجيبني حين أنادي، ويستر علي كل عورة وأنا عصي، ويعظم النعمة علي فلا أجازي. فكم من موهبة هنية قد أعطاني، وعظيمة مخوفة قد كفاني، وبهجة مونقة قد عراني، فأثني عليه حامدا وأذكره مسبحا. الحمد لله الذي لا يهتك حجابه، ولا يغلق بابه، ولا يرد سائله، ولا يخيب آمله. الحمد لله الذي يؤمن الخائفين وينجي الصالحين والصادقين، ويرفع المستضعفين ويضع المستكبرين، ويهلك ملوكا ويستخلف آخرين. والحمد لله قاسم الجبارين مبير الظالمين مدرك الهاربين نكال الظالمين صريخ المستصرخين موضع حاجات الطالبين معتمد المؤمنين. الحمد لله الذي من خشيته ترعد السماء وسكانها، وترجف الأرض وعمارها، وتموج البحار ومن يسبح في غمراتها. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله الذي يخلق ولم يخلق، ويرزق ولا يرزق، ويطعم ولا يطعم، ويميت الأحياء ويحيي الموتى، وهو حي لا يموت بيده الخير، وهو على كل شيء قدير. اللهم صل على محمد عبدك ورسولك وأمينك وصفيك وحبيبك وخيرتك من خلقك، وحافظ سرك ومبلغ رسالاتك، أفضل وأحسن وأجمل وأكمل وأزكى وأنمى وأطيب وأطهر وأسنى، وأكثر ما صليت وباركت وترحمت وتحننت وسلمت على أحد من عبادك وأنبيائك ورسلك وصفوتك وأهل الكرامة عليك من خلقك. اللهم صل على علي أمير المؤمنين ووصي رسول رب العالمين، عبدك ووليك وأخي رسولك وحجتك على خلقك وآيتك الكبرى والنبي العظيم. وصل على الصديقة الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. وصل على سبطي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى الحسن والحسين سيدي الشباب أهل الجنة. وصل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي والخلف الهادي المهدي. حججك على عبادك وأمنائك في بلادك صلاة كثيرة دائمة. اللهم صل على ولي أمرك القائم المؤمل والعدل المنتظر وحفه بملائكتك المقربين وأيده بروح القدس يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجعله الداعي إلى كتابك والقائم بدينك استخلف في الأرض كما استخلفت الذين من قبله. مكن له دينه الذي ارتضيته له أبدله من بعد خوفه أمنا يعبدك لا يشرك بك شيئا. اللهم أعزه وأعزز به وانصره وانتصر به وانصره نصرا عزيزا وافتح له فتحا يسيرا واجعل له من لدنك سلطانا نصيرا. اللهم اظهر به دينك وسنة نبيك حتى لا يستخفي بشيء من الحق مخافة أحد من الخلق. اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله وتذل بها النفاق وأهله وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما عرفتنا من الحق فحملنا وما قصرنا عنه فبلغنا. اللهم المم به شعثنا واشعب به صدعنا وانتق به فتقنا وكثر به قلتنا وعزز به ذلتنا واغن به عائلنا واغض به عن مغرمنا واجبر به فقرنا وسد به خلتنا ويسر به عسرنا وبيض به وجوهنا وفك به أسرنا وانجح به طلبتنا وانجز به مواعيدنا واستجب به دعوتنا واعطنا به سؤلنا وبلغنا به من الدنيا والآخرة آمالنا واعطنا به فوق رغبتنا يا خير المسؤولين وأوسع المعطين. اشف به صدورنا واذهب به غيظ قلوبنا واهدنا به لما اختلف فيه من الحق بإذنك إنك تهدي من تشاء إلى صراط مستقيم. وانصرنا به على عدوك وعدونا إله الحق آمين. اللهم إنا نشكو إليك فضل نبينا صلواتك عليه وآله وغيبة ولينا وكثرة عدونا وقلة عددنا وشدة الفتن بنا وتظاهر الزمان علينا. وصل على محمد وآل محمد وأعنا على ذلك بفتح منك تعجل وبضر تكشف ونصر تعز وسلطان حق تظهر ورحمة منك تجللناها وعافية منك تلبسناها برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope you all are well. Assalamu alaikum everyone. I hope you all are well, and I hope you all are benefiting from this month as much as you can, especially from these lectures. So before I invite Aga, I would like to say a couple of points from Aga's lecture yesterday. So first of all, the memorization ayah, which is the 10th one, it is Surah An'am, verse 32. And the translation is as follows: the life of the world is nothing but play and diversion, and the abode of the hereafter is surely better for those who had God worried. Will you not exercise your reason? So a tradition Aga mentioned yesterday was that the dunya is a sowing field of the akhirat, and basically a field where things can grow, and it is essential to get the fruit of the Ahl al-Bayt. He also mentioned the meaning of dunya as loan, and you have to use the dunya as much as you can to get the hereafter. So also whoever is memorizing the ayats for the competition and wants to participate, can they please send me your name by today or tomorrow? And I'll put a number in the chat box and you can send it there. So can I request everyone to recite a Surah Fatiha for the Mahrameen of Brother Mutahir Zaidi, especially Sayyid Haider Raza Zaidi, Sayyid Abu Tahir Zaidi, and Naseem Ara. Now I request Aga to continue his beautiful lectures on the topic of benefiting from the Quran. If anyone has any questions, please type them in the chat box or raise your hand, and please welcome Aga with a loud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Thank you very much. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ثم الصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين لا سيما سيدي ومولاي بقية الله في الأراضين روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I pray that all of you are well. I pray that may Allah inshallah accept all your fasting, all your ibadat, all your efforts during this holy month, inshallah. So before we start, as Ali was doing the summary of what we talked about yesterday, I just remembered another hadith with regards to the dunya, and I thought I'd share that. And there's a question in the chat as well, which I'll answer as well before we start. So there's, remember yesterday we were talking about that Islam is fine with people being rich, no issues as long as, you know, the parameters that we talked about. And then I said that remember that there's one thing though, that wealth and all these material things have this intrinsic value of attracting you. It's like a black hole, that it will pull you in, it will suck you in. Where Amir al-Mu'mineen, may we all be sacrificed for him. Just amazing, beautiful person, right? Amazing personality. And the more you read about him and the more you read this ahadith, it's just out of this world. So he has this saying, this hadith where he says, "Ghurri ghayri ya dunya." So he's talking to the world and he's telling the world, he's like, listen, go try to fool someone else because you're not going to be able to fool me. And another one of the hadith that actually one that came to my mind. So this "Ghurri ghayri ya dunya" is just something that's inspirational. That knowing that Amir al-Mu'mineen as well, actively fighting against the dunya, talking to the dunya, kicking it back, and realizing the slippery slope that the world is. In one of the hadith from the Ma'sumin alayhi salam, they draw an analogy and they give an example of what the world is like. And they say the world is like the ocean water. Okay, it's like the ocean water, the worldly life. That you're thirsty. If you're thirsty and you try to go drink the ocean water, it's like the more you drink it, the thirstier you get. The more you drink it, the thirstier you get because of its nature of being salty. So it's a beautiful analogy which talks about the point that we did talk about yesterday, how it's a black hole and it has this intrinsic characteristic of sucking people into it. So may Allah inshallah protect us all. So the question over here is Salam wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. How do we know if we are too in love with the world? Being in love with the world, there's various signs for it. Some of them we had mentioned when there was a similar question about ghafla. Remember, am I inattentive? Am I not? Am I in a state of ghafla or not? Love of the world, there can be different signs throughout our life, throughout our day. And some of them I kind of hinted towards. Remember towards the end, we talked about this example of, if your phone breaks and your car and your house and your family and your bank account and your job. And one of the ways for us to gauge ourselves is through those things. That how upset do I get? How upset do I get when I lose one of those small worldly things? Or if I'm not able to achieve one of those small worldly things. As one of the teachers gave a really beautiful example. They're like, they went somewhere for dinner and they were passing out food. And they started passing out like, rice and kebabs. Like nice kebabs, just not chicken, like meat kebabs, which supposedly are better. Okay, just so you understand this story. So they start passing those around, and the last person, they ran out of kebabs. Okay, they ran out of kebabs. So they gave them like rice with a piece of chicken, and this person gets so upset that how come everyone got kebabs with the rice, but I got a piece of chicken with my rice. And they're really upset about that. And I don't know if you've seen this. Sometimes you'll see this happening in the planes, right? In the airplanes when you're taking a flight and they have limited numbers of. So sometimes you'll see this kind of drama over there as well. But anyways, so the teacher says that if this person is getting so upset over what they got, that they didn't get a kebab, it's not like they didn't get food. They got food, they just didn't get the kebab, they got the chicken. They're like, this kind of shows in a way that the worth of this person is just that one kebab and the pizza and some rice. Meaning that there is some aspect of their attachment to these things. They're not indifferent. So a person who's, for example, not started to actively work on themselves and hasn't, when I say actively work, I mean like the likes of Allama Tabatabai, the likes of Ayatollah Bahja, the likes of their students, like the likes of the students of their students, the likes of the people who are on this path actively. Alhamdulillah, all of us are on this path, pursuing this path towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, trying our best. But that's at a different level. So if it's not those people and they haven't reached already, not just started, but already reached a certain point, everyone is bound to have some sort of love of the world in their heart, somewhere here or another. So these are various signs where a person can kind of gauge themselves during the day, during their life, during their weeks, during their months, at work, at home, that how much do I get upset? And if you remember, how much do I get upset if I lose something? How much do I get happy if I gain something? And is this all that makes me drive? This is what drives me. And if you remember some of the um, some of the verses that we talked about yesterday, there was one that said, لكي لا تأسوا على ما فاتكم ولا تفرحوا بما, I think, بما آتاكم, not على, ولا تفرحوا بما آتاكم, if I remember correctly. So meaning, so you're not upset, لكي لا تأسوا على ما فاتكم, you're not upset in everything that you lose. And the other side as well, لا تفرحوا بما آتاكم, and don't be happy about every little thing that's been given to you. Now this happiness and this sadness can also be seen in different contexts. For example, let's look at Karbala. Imam Hussein alayhi salatu wasalam, when he gives away his sons, is he upset or not? What do you guys think? Who can explain that? Was he upset or not when he lost his sons? Or when he had to give his sons in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? I'll give you 30, 40 seconds if someone wants to just type it out. Ali, you can feel free to answer as well if you want. So you're part of it. You don't have to, but you looking away from the camera is not going to let you get away from it. I can still see you. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. No. So someone said, was he upset? One person said no. The other said no because it was taken as a sacrifice. No, he was not upset. Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam. He was thankful to Allah. Okay, so let me ask you this. Did he not say when he went to Hazrat Abbas and he said that now my back is broken? Did he not say when he was with Hazrat Ali Akbar alayhi salam that there is nothing left in this world after you, my dear son? Is that not being upset? Okay, so I got answers, so that's good. I'm very proud of you guys for answering. It seems like it's mostly the youth, so very, very proud of you. Let's all recite a salawat for all of these people. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. You see how happy I am? When you guys answer, see how happy I get? Okay. So there's two things. There is this natural love. Thank you. So there, one person just said it. There is this natural love of a father for a son. But the context of this love is that they love their kids, they love their father, they love their prophet, they love their mother, they love everyone because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's their love is embedded in the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because primarily Imam Hussein loves Allah. He loves Allah. And then Allah says, show love to your children. Do this, do that. So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is the natural love between a parent and a child, between a sibling and a sibling. So all of that is there. That is where that is coming from when he says, now my back is broken because, this was a support. So one part is the emotional, like the human emotions. One aspect, for example, in the example of Hazrat Abbas might be no. It's beyond that as well. This was a God-given support to me by Allah. And now the support is taken back. So I feel, like, okay, one of the supports of Allah was taken away from me. Anyways, point being, but the line that he says towards the end of Ashura, or in some narrations even on the night of Ashura, the ridam biqada'ihi wa taslim al-amr is clarifying any of those doubts. That I am completely razi, I'm completely satisfied with whatever Allah has decreed. Right? And he had told his sister Zainab salamullah alayha as well that Allah wants to see you being taken as prisoners. So these are things that they have come to terms with, but that does not mean that there's no natural love one, and two, love because of Allah. So when Sayyidah Zainab Salamullah alayha loves Imam Hussein, one aspect of that is the brother. One aspect of that is no, it's the Imam. This is my Imam. This is the representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is my wali. This is the one who it's wajib upon me to follow them. Like, this is my connection to God. Same thing with when Hazrat Zahra Salamullah alayha stands up for Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salatu wasalam. One aspect is the husband. One aspect is the cousin of the Holy Prophet. One aspect is, no, he's the Imam. He's the rightly guided Imam. He's the Imam that was selected by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So there are different aspects to it. How did we get here? Was it just answering the question? Let me see this last one and then we'll continue. Doesn't arrange to prophets most of as well because the father of the custody was upset? Doesn't mean he had to do it because of relating to sacrifice. Okay, so basically, yeah, it's similar. It's similar to the Hazrat Ibrahim story. So that's good, thank you. Now I don't know if I just kind of, okay, anyways. I don't remember if I was still answering the question or I'd gone to another point, regardless. Okay, so this is where I want to start today. So we're talking about, we're talking about loving Allah, we're talking about worshiping Allah, we're talking about remembering Allah, we're talking about praying to Allah, we talked about salat, we talked about staying focused on Allah, not being inattentive, not being negligent, not losing focus. We talked about how shaitan and our nafs, our carnal desires become, these are all there. Let's take it a step beyond, right? Now I'm praying. Now I'm doing all the things I want to do. Does that mean shaitan leaves me? No, it doesn't. Does that mean that my carnal desires leave me? No, they don't. They will be with me till the last breath. Have absolutely no doubt about it. No one will reach a certain point where they're going to be like, okay, shaitan has left me and will never come after me anymore. That's not going to happen. No matter what level you've reached, shaitan will always try his best. Always try his best to be able to get us. And that's why one of the du'as that people make is that may my end be good. Right now I might be good, but who knows how many people were on the right path and they fall off the path. So that's why that may Allah make my end be good. Anyways, Surah Ma'idah. So let me type this out as well for everyone. So memorization number 11, I believe. Is that right? Surah Ma'idah, chapter 5, verse 119. Okay. قال الله. So the entire Quran, this is an interesting verse. The entire Quran is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But over here it quoting Allah. It says قال Allah. It's part of the verse of the Quran. Allah said, قال الله. هذا يوم ينفع الصادقين صدقهم. Allah said, today is the day when the sidq, and I'll explain that, of the sadiqeen will help them. Sidq of the sadiqeen, literally, if you want to translate, means the truth of the truthful. So because the people who were truthful during their lives, their truth will help them on this day. But I'll explain that. And it continues. لَهُمْ جَنَّاتٍ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارِ. They will have abodes, their houses will be in heavens, where there will be rivers flowing underneath. خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا أَبَدًا. They will stay in these beautiful places with rivers flowing forever. Abada. رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه. These are the people that they are razi, they're satisfied, they're happy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and everything they've done with it. On the other hand, وَرَضُوا عَنْ. So Allah is happy with them and they are also happy with Allah. They reach that point. ذَلِكَ الْفَوْزُ الْعَظِيمُ. That is the greatest or the great success. That is where everyone should be aiming to get to. So the verse is long, although it's a nice verse, but because I don't want it to get too long, so it's just the first part, okay? I'll repeat it right now. قال الله هذا يوم ينفع الصادقين صدقهم. This is the part that we're going to be looking at. The rest of it is also beautiful. If you can memorize it, that's great. If you can't, that's fine too. At least look at the meanings, inshallah. قال الله هذا يوم ينفع الصادقين صدقهم. Today is the day when the truth of the truthful will help them. How do the teachers of akhlaq use this verse? They say this sidq. It's true. Sidq means truth. But if you go a level deeper, what it means is that the people whose inside and their outsides are the same. Meaning what? That not just in speaking are they truthful, but even in their actions they're truthful. They act what they believe. They don't put up a front. They don't put up a facade. They are who they are. The inside of them is the same as the outside of them. The zahir of them is the same as the batin of them. They would act when they're by themselves just like how they would act when they're with other people. They don't put up a show for other people. In other words, they are sincere in what they do. They are sincere in what they do. They're completely aligned. قال الله هذا يوم ينفع الصادقين صدقهم. Meaning it is such a precious thing to have that on the day of judgment, when people are running away from each other, these people, what is going to help them on this day? Their sincerity in what they did. Their ikhlas in what they did. Their focus, in other words, in what they did. Where they reach a point on that day, رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ, that Allah is completely satisfied with these people. And they are completely razi and satisfied with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Surah Tawbah, chapter 9, surah number 9, verse number 119. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, ittaqullah. O the people who have believed, be wary of Allah. وَكُونُوا مَعَ الصَّادِقِينَ, and be with the Sadiqeen. Wherever you see the Sadiqeen, wherever you see the truthful people, wherever you see the sincere people, be with them. كُونُوا مَعَ الصَّادِقِينَ. The Quran is telling you and I, listen, these are the parameters that I want you to lead your life with. Be with the Sadiqeen. What do we understand about sincerity? What exactly does it mean? Sincerity is not an outwardly action. It's not like I can go and do sincerity. Right? There's nothing that I need to do for the sincerity. Rather, sincerity is something that's it's something that's in my heart, just like the niyyah, just like the intention. And that's why they're always related as well, right? It's not like, oh, let me go 2 rakats of sincerity. Let me go 2 rakats of ikhlas. Let me go 1 round around the Kaaba of ikhlas. No, that's not what you say. What you say is, let me go 2 rakats of salat. Let me go give this donation in the way of Allah. Let me go for hajj. Let me go for ziyarah. with the intention of XYZ. Now, if that intention, the purer that intention becomes, the purer that intention becomes, the more sincere it becomes, the more sincere the action becomes. Beautiful hadith from the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, that the worth of the actions, that your actions will be worthy based on your niyyah, based on your intention. What intention did you do this with? You went and prayed 2 rakats of salat. Sometimes the intention is to show other people. Sometimes the intention is to get some material gain. Sometimes the intention is to follow some hadith that we've heard. Sometimes the intention is peer pressure. Sometimes the intention is, and you can go on and on and on and on and on. I can never decide for you what your intention is, just like you can't decide for me what my intention is. But we don't want to go to that extreme where we say, okay, everyone hands off, everyone for themselves. You can't judge me, I can't judge you. No, there's some implications. If I see that I live my life in a certain way, if I see certain trends in my life, that those imply that either I'm sincerely doing these things, or there is some sort of a question mark on my sincerity. I can't give 100% judgment on, person X, person Y is not sincere at all, or they have zero sincerity, or they're 100% sincere. But there's signs that do reflect that. So we don't want to go either extreme. We don't want to go to the extreme of where we're trying to play God and we're judging everyone's sincerities. But we don't want to go to the other extreme where we're so naive that, that even because everyone for themselves, there is no sort of aspect of social responsibility anymore. That everyone's just doing their own thing. You see a person doing something wrong, and you see things in their life that are not going in the right direction. But we have this misconception that, no, the person's heart is clear. They're a pure person. That's fine. They might be a pure person. But they still need your help to be guided. That entire social responsibility of enjoining good and forbidding evil, amr bil ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar, they do play a role sometimes. Now, I do understand that that some of this amr bil ma'ruf and nahy anil munkar relates, not some of it, actually relates directly to outwardly actions. But when you're talking within friends, when you're talking about people who have an understanding of each other, there can be talks about sincerity as well. There can be talks about this is how you think, and I don't think that's a healthy way to think. It doesn't have to be, oh, this is my wajib, amr bil ma'ruf and nahy munkar. No, just like for wajib things, the amr bil ma'ruf is wajib. For mustahab things, the amr bil ma'ruf is mustahab. For things that will help a person in their spirituality, in the gaining proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, getting closer to Allah, then that's also, there's some sort of an ethical responsibility there, some akhlaqi responsibility, some brotherly responsibility of helping each other out. So sincerity is important, that it's not, we understand that this is something that's embedded within us. It's deep down, and that's why the questions about sincerity get really confusing. Am I sincere or not? The most important question that I need to ask is not, is person X sincere or not? Is person Y sincere or not? Is this person that? No. The most important question that should busy me is, am I sincere or not? And when we talk about sincere, it means that my intention is for Allah and Allah only. As they say, qurbatan ila Allah. Intention is proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes it's saying something out loud that needs to be said. That's proximity with the niyyah that this is what Allah wants me to do, therefore I'll do it in an attempt to get closer to Him. Sometimes, no, it's the opposite. He wants me to be quiet. So I'm quiet, qurbatan ilallah, to be able to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sometimes I build a relationship, qurbatan ilallah. Sometimes I break a relationship, qurbatan ilallah. Sometimes I pray, qurbatan ilallah. Sometimes I leave my salat, qurbatan ilallah. Let me explain that before everyone goes home. And Manana told us we can leave our namaz. So parents, please back off. I am leaving my namaz qurbatan ilallah. No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. They're very specific examples. For example, I'll give you an extreme example and a somewhat not extreme example. For example, if you see that a person, a mu'min, is in need, especially if it's a need where it's a life-death situation, over here it's wrong for you to say, you know what, brother, I like to do my salat at the earliest hour. Inshallah, when I'm done with salat and my taqibat, and I can't forget my tasbih of Azakhana-e-Zahra. After I'm done with all that, I'll drive over, and inshallah, whatever I can do at that point, if you're still alive, I'll be there for you. No, that's wrong. That's obviously wrong, right? So sometimes you have to leave the salat qurbatan ilallah. Sometimes even in a mustahab sort of way you leave salat, where they say that sometimes when there's people waiting for you, for example, now that we're in Shahr Ramadan at iftar, in some instances, it might actually be better for a person to go do iftar first and then go pray after that. Anyways, point being that there's different instances that call for different things. Also, when your mom is calling you, right? Yeah. So yeah, that too. Like, if you're standing up for prayer or you're going for prayer and your mom wants you to do something, and it's only going to take you 5 minutes, it's only going to take you 6, 7 minutes, 10 minutes. Yeah, my understanding is yes, go do that for your mom. Especially if she knows that you were going to pray. There's sometimes that she doesn't know you're going to go pray. And she says, hey, can you come here and help me with this? But if she finds out that you actually were going to pray, she's going to be like, no, please go pray and then come back. So when your mom is calling you, yes, again, there's so many different factors that it really depends on the situation. But the point that I'm trying to get across is the criteria is not the outwardly action. The criteria is what's inside. Again, not two extremes. What's inside does not mean that you say, this person is a really good friend of mine. They're not Muslim. They don't believe in a God, but they're really good people. I have no doubt that they're really good people. But being a good person is not good enough to get you over the hump. There's an aspect of belief that is extremely important and foundational in Islamic ideology. You can't reject God and then be a good person. By definition in Islam, the foundation should be of faith. I'm not saying that you call out everyone who's not a Muslim. No, there's etiquettes to be able to deal with them as well. So you understand how there's no it's not like black and white. Praying is always right, or doing this is always wrong. And one example is, of course, you've heard this example, for example, eating pork is haram, but in certain situations it becomes wajib. If you're God forbid about to die, then in this situation, no, it becomes wajib upon you to eat the pork if that is the only thing you have. Fasting is wajib upon you, but it becomes haram upon you if it's going to lead to you getting seriously sick. It becomes haram on you. Haram to the extent that if you say that, no, I'm still going to fast, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually going to reject that fast. It's not going to be accepted. It's batil, it's void, it's invalid. Question, what about if our mom calls us while we are praying namaz? Are we obliged to answer him, break our prayer? No, you're not. No, you're not. Right? Unless you pray like Hazrat Jafar al-Tayyar, I think you should be fine. Right? Your namaz is going to be 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, and then you go and tell your mom, I was praying. And, you know, there will be very few moms, I think, in very few circumstances, they're going to be upset at you. I can't believe you, Ali. Why were you praying at the earliest time when you knew that I might call you in the kitchen for help? Can you imagine your mom saying that? And I'm sure it's the same for your mom as well, the brother who asked the question. But the important thing is this. The important thing is this, that aligning ourselves with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything that we do, aligning with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now, in the outwardly world, right? Sometimes I do good things. Good things I'll define as what Allah wants me to do. And sometimes I do bad things, meaning the things that Allah doesn't want me to do. Can I have an intention or sincerity in doing the good actions? Yeah, I can imagine that. Can I have a lack of sincerity in doing the good actions? Yeah, I can imagine that as well. So that's clear, okay? With good actions can be sincerity or lack of sincerity. What about bad actions? Can there be a sincerity in bad actions? That I'm gonna go break this rule of Allah, qurbatan ilallah. It's like, Ali, I'm gonna come beat you up out of love for you. Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense. You can't upset the person in an attempt to try and get closer to them. So you can't break Allah's rules with the sincerity of getting close to Him. So that's clear. But it's an entire discussion, and we can talk about example after example after example of khulus and ikhlas in the good actions that we do. In the good actions that we do. And there's such fine concepts. There's such like delicate and intricate concepts that sometimes it's a really fine line between, am I really doing this for God or not? Or is there an aspect of me actually wanting to do it so I can get more famous, so I can do this, so I can do that? Let me give you one example. There's a brother who, mashallah, God has given the tawfiq, prays at the earliest hour. Always prays at the masjid. Always prays in the jama'at. Always prays in the first row. Always right behind the imam. Amazing person. And truly, not just that, amazing person. Imagine this. One day they come to the masjid and they got delayed because they couldn't find parking or whatever reason. They walk in and they see that the lines have already come to the 5th, 6th row. But somehow they push their way to get to the first row. There is no room there. They push people a little and tell them to move out a little so they can get to that place. That's one scenario. Another scenario, they get there and they realize that, you know what? I don't have to be in the first row. I like to be in the first row because as one of the messages says, that there are traditions about that it's more rewards to pray in the first row. But hey, look at the circumstances right now. I'm late and there's people already there. And this person thinks, what are people going to think about me though? They're going to think I don't give importance to my salah. Look, I'm in the 5th row. As soon as this thought comes into their mind, you know that there's something, maybe just a very small and fine and intricate issue, there is something that this person, that the reason they wanted to be in the first row, if they're thinking that, is so they can get some sort of a status or some sort of respect in the community. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Nisa, chapter 4, verse 139 says, أَيَبْتَغُونَ عِنْدَهُمُ الْعِزَّةِ, do they look for the izzah amongst the عِنْدَهُمْ, amongst them? فَإِنَّ الْعِزَّةَ لِلَّهِ جَمِيعًا, whereas the izzah is with Allah and Allah only. You can't get respect from people. The only way you get respect from people is if you get respect from Allah, and then He instills that respect in people's hearts for you. And if at any point I'm trying to myself through my actions control my my actions in a way that I instill respect in people's hearts, a person like that will never be able to truly reach a point where they're sincere. These will not be the people who the verse is talking about. وَقَالَ اللَّهُ هَذَا يَوْمٌ يَنْفَعُ الصَّادِقِينَ صِدْقُهُمْ. And you can take these examples over and across the board. The people who are not doing good is another thing. You don't even talk about that when you're talking about sincerity. I'm talking about the people who are there serving the purpose, who are there serving the cause. The first person to come to the masjid, to open the masjid, the last person coming to at the masjid, cleaning up the masjid, volunteering for the masjid, volunteering for the people, serving the people. Everything, something, little bit, this, that. People like myself, going and speaking in communities in Shahr Ramadan, going and speaking in the holy month, telling people that I'm in the Hawza. It's extremely, extremely slippery slope. Remember, the dunya is working against us. It's pulling us towards it. Shaitan is there sitting on the straight path, making sure that no one gets past. My carnal desires are making sure that they, not making sure, but my carnal desires are pulling me towards satisfying them. With all this going on, I am expected to purify my niyyah, purify my intentions to be able to get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But there's a good promise by Allah. He says in Surah Sad, chapter 38, verses 82 and 83, and we talked about this earlier. قَالَ فَبِعِزَّتِكَ لَأُغْوِيَنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. That he said, Shaitan, that I swear by your izzah that I will misguide them all. إِلَّا عِبَادَكَ مِنْهُمْ الْمُخْلَصِينَ. Except those who've purified themselves to a point, which is mukhlisin. They have ikhlas, they're mukhlis. They have sincerity. But then the verse says mukhlas. Mukhlas, the difference between mukhlis and mukhlas, you can say in simple words, is mukhlis is someone who's trying to be sincere towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas mukhlas means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after He sees them trying and trying, He puts that extra sort of bonus on them, and He takes their responsibility, and He purifies them, so they become mukhlasin. So even Shaitan is saying, listen, the key, if you want to be able to get away from me and my trickery, is ikhlas, is working towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not only working towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but working towards Him with sincerity. Amir al-Mu'min alayhi salatu wasalam says, قَدْ أَخْلَصَ لِلَّهِ فَاسْتَخْلَصَ. The surah and the verse that I just talked about was Surah 38, which is Surah Sad, verse 82 and 83. Before that, I talked about Surah Nisa, which is chapter 4, verse 139. And the one for memorization was Surah Ma'idah, chapter 5, verse 119. Amir al-Mu'mineen is saying, anyone who does ikhlas or practices ikhlas, Allah will purify them. Allah will purify them. I'll end with this beautiful line from Munajat al-Muhibbeen, the Munajat of the lovers, one of the 15 whispered prayers by Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salatu wasalam, where he's making du'as, and then he says, so make me of those, O Allah, وَأَخْلَصْتَهُ لِوُدِّكَ وَوِلَايَتِكَ. O Allah, make me of those who you have purified, who you have given them ikhlas, you have purified them, you've given them the tawfiq for sincerity, you have purified them, you've selected them. وَأَخْلَصْتَهُ for what? لِوُدِّكَ وَوِلَايَتِكَ, that you've purified them for your love. That they've reached a point where they love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so much that everything they do is for the sake of Allah, because they love Him so much. And if you go towards the end in the same munajat, it's beautiful where it ends. It says, Ya muna qulub al-mushtaqeen wa ya ghayat amal al-muhibbeen. He says, As'aluka hubbaka, I ask you for your love. And I talked about this earlier as well in one of the talks. Wa hubba man yuhibbuka, and the love of whoever loves you. وَحُبَّ كُلِّ عَمَلٍ يُوصِلُنِي إِلَى قُرْبِكَ, and the love, put in me the love of every action that will bring me to you. وَأَن تَجْعَلَكَ أَحَبَّ إِلَيَّ مِمَّا سِوَاكَ, and make you more beloved, and make me love you more than anything other than you. وَاجْعَلْ حُبِّي إِيَّاكَ قَائِدًا إِلَى رِضْوَانِكَ, and make my love for you a guide for me. That this love of me for you, my love for you, is not empty, it's not just empty words. It guides me towards Ridwanik, to a point where you are satisfied, you're razi with me. وَشَوْقِ إِلَيْكَ قَاعِدًا عَنْ إِسْيَانِكَ, and this inclination and this want that I have to come towards you, make that a barrier between me and the sins. So basically, this love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if it's instilled within our hearts, it leads to that sincerity. It leads to that want to please Him and Him only. This love becomes a barrier between me and doing any wrong. This love becomes a catalyst for me and doing the right things. And the essence of all worship, remember the purpose of that we were created? وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I did not create the jinn and the ins except for them to worship me. The essence and the soul of worship is attention towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sincerity. The more the sincere my action is, the better my niyyah is. The better my niyyah is, the more worthy my action is. The more worthy my action is, the quicker I get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You know how they talk about in Islam, it's definitely quality over quantity. It's the sincere actions that will help you get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the sake of these blessed nights, for the sake of this month, oh Allah, bless us and give us the tawfiq to be sincere. Give us the tawfiq to be able to understand and worship you in a way that you deserve to be worshipped with complete sincerity. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us our sins, the sins of our marhumin, the sins of our mu'mineen, especially the sins of the marhumin, of the sponsors of tonight's program. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the reappearance of our Imam and include us amongst his sincerest followers. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sorry, Ali, just a question. Do you have the number of the verse on you? Someone just messaged me. If you could just put the verse for yesterday as well, please. Do you have the verse for yesterday? If you could just put the verse for yesterday. I don't have that exact surah name, number, and if you could put that for yesterday and for today, please, I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. So for today, it's Surah Ma'idah, which is chapter 5, Surah number 5, verse number 119, just the first part of it. قَالَ اللَّهُ هَذَا يَوْمٌ يَنْفَعُ الصَّادِقِينَ صِدْقُهُم, just till there. But for yesterday, there you go. Surah Anam, which is Surah number 6, I believe, verse number 32. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah Aga for such an extraordinary and brilliant lecture, and I hope we all learned so much from it. So also a reminder to please send me confirmation that you are attending and participating in the ayat competition. So I tapped a number in chat, so if you can please send it there. Thank you. And so now to end today's program with dua first.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم كن لوليك حجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.